really love sharing my story. At first, it was really scary, but now I have realized that my story is something that others need to hear because I, for the longest time, suffered on my own, thinking that I was the only one experiencing life the way I was. And once I started talking about who I was, where I came from, what I had dealt with all my life, I realized that I wasn't alone, that there were so many people out there who were experiencing the same thing. And with that, I have been connected with people who needed me and people that I need. So I wanted to just share a little bit about my story, because one thing I have realized throughout the 7 years that I've been a coach, or almost 7 years, is that I have many chapters of my life. There are many parts of my life that need to be told, need to be shared. And I'm probably not going to cover it all, but I wanted to share these things with you because this might be something that's holding you back in life. And maybe coaching isn't for you, but these things may be holding you back from being the best version of yourself and for going after your goals and dreams. So a little bit about me. I was adopted at 9.5 months old, brought from Korea over to the US. I was adopted by an American couple who had dealt with infertility for over a decade. I was the answer to their prayers. It wasn't about doing the right thing, helping somebody. I was to fill the void in their life and to be the solution to their decade-old problem. And with that, I became the fixer. And that is the role I took in most of my life, is the fixer. I never felt good enough. I never really felt connected. I never really felt truly loved. And, I understand that they did the best that they could with what they had. But I also realize now, from being a mother, being a step-parent, talking to other adoptees, that there just is a disconnect between children that you love that are part of your family or your adopted children versus your own biological. And that is just a physiological thing out there. And I was somebody who dealt with that. And I, on top of it, was raised in an ultra-religious household. Very negative, narcissistic people raised me. And I suffered at the hands of them abusing me mentally, emotionally, and physically. And I also dealt with sexual abuse as a child, not from them. And so I had all these things that just made me feel dirty, unworthy, inadequate. And I never had anybody to model what a good life was. I had nobody there that taught me how to dream big, how to set goals, how to move past negative experiences. I'd never set a goal in my life until I was in my 30s. And for some, they've done that. Whether it's going through school, setting a goal of what college to get into. I was discouraged to pursue a higher education. That was never anything that was in my long-range vision. It was never encouraged. And so I never worked a super high-end job, and what led me to my career that I did for 10 years was I was the third generation working in the insurance industry, and I didn't have a college degree because, again, that wasn't something that was encouraged. I left home at 16. I didn't have at 15, didn't have my license. Graduated early at 16 so I could work. But I didn't have any transportation or any way to get to a college. And honestly, as soon as I graduated, I didn't have a lot of time to figure out what college to go to when all of my classmates were leaving. So I ended up pregnant. And then that really definitely halted any college plans that I was thinking of, but really not a lot. So I went into the insurance industry because it was the only thing I understood. It was the only thing I was good at. And it was something I could say that I'm the third generation of working in the insurance industry. I went and got my insurance agent's license. And I remember that when I took the 5-day class to prep me for it, I was so sick, like literally sick, because I was so nervous. When I took the test, I was so afraid I was gonna fail it. And I was more afraid of having to tell people that I failed it. I had such a fear of failure. It was so binding, so terrifying. And I remember when I actually passed it, I was surprised. And the people that I told, they were like, we totally thought that you had it. I don't know why you were worried, but I had such a little belief in myself. So I stuck to this industry and I worked several different places with doing the same position. I told myself that I loved it because to a degree I did, because of the fact that it was something that I was good at. It was something that I understood. It was something that I could pour myself into. And so I convinced myself I loved it because it made me feel good. Well, it didn't really make me feel good in the aspect of being a mother, because I became a mom at 18. I had my second child at 22. And I remember when I got pregnant at 29 with my third child, this absolute guilt, terror for what my life was going to be like just consumed me. Because when my girls were little, they would get sick. They would get sick because they were children. They would get sick because we didn't really live a healthy life, because I didn't understand health. To me, health was a can of green beans, a can of corn. I was so young, so uneducated, and then on top of it, they went to daycare. And I remember all the times that they would get sick. I would think they were getting sick. I would dope them up with medication to hopefully, counteract all of the symptoms so the teachers wouldn't find out. There were times that I would just hope and pray that the school wouldn't call. I remember waking up several mornings and thinking, oh my God, my kids are sick. I was terrified to call in. There were times that I brought my kids sick to work. One time Haley was throwing up when I worked at a daycare making minimum wage. I told her, go outside and throw up out there. I can't have you throwing up around the kids. Because even at the daycare, they didn't understand and they didn't care about my family. They didn't care about my kids. So I had to bring my child at 7:15 vomiting and send her outside alone to throw up. That was one of those moments where I'm like, this can't be life. And I remember them reprimanding me whenever I got sick, and they were like, call your husband and have him watch the kids. Well, my ex-husband made a lot more than I did at the daycare, and he made that very clear that he wasn't going to take off because it didn't make sense, and it did not. We didn't have family, and it was so scary. And so when years later I was divorced, got remarried, found out I was pregnant, it was terrifying because I knew, again, I wouldn't have anybody to watch my kids, and I didn't want to do those things. And then on top of it, I literally gave my heart and soul to this job, to this employer who I really considered like a father figure. He actually walked me down the aisle. We got married on his property, and then he shit-canned me literally 2 weeks before I was to return to work. And then he fought me for unemployment, which I won. And I was so devastated. I was so hurt by what he did to me, and the fact that he had no heart, that he had no care or consideration for me as a mother, what I had to provide for my kids. He didn't care about all the times that I had sent my kids to school or came and brought them to work with me so that I didn't miss work, so that I didn't put him in a bind. All the times that I, begged for somebody else to watch my kids whenever school was out. He didn't care. He didn't take any of that stuff into consideration when he fired me, which was so ridiculous. I was so angry and so bitter. So I took crappy job after crappy job after crappy job until I could get another job in the insurance industry. And let me tell you, it was so demeaning to me to go from making the money that I was only making $45,000 a year. When I say only, I know other people make less, but for me that was a big deal. And I had worked so hard and so long in this industry that I was just like, oh my God, this is great. And then I had to go down to making like $26,000. And I couldn't think about, I just couldn't wrap my head around how I'd gotten there. I was so angry, and I was even resentful for having another baby. I'm like, you did this to me because I had to leave work. All these things. And it took away from me being a mom. And then I had the mom guilt from that. I remember even being angry when my kids would be sick. I'm like, God damn it, you're sick again. Because I was frustrated, and they did not deserve it, and I didn't want to be that parent because then I would feel bad. And then when I would have my husband, Ryan, watch the kids or take them to orthodontist appointments or dentist appointments or all these different things that I could be at, school functions, award programs. I was resentful too because of the fact that I should have been the one there. And the times that I would go there, I would go, watch them, and then leave. Or a lot of times other parents that I was friends with would send me pictures of my kids, and I didn't want to be that parent. But I didn't have any other choice. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and we suffered financially from it. And I just always thought that I didn't want my kids to grow up poor. I didn't want them to go without like I did. I didn't by any means need to make millions. I didn't need to provide them with tons of material things, but I also didn't want them to have to go without or have that embarrassment like I did. But I didn't know if there was any other way. I did not know that there was another choice. I didn't know that there was another option. And it wasn't until the end of 2011, after my husband and I had been together for years, never set any goals together, really hadn't discussed where our future was going. There was a lot of resentment. There was a lot of pain of things we'd done to each other, things that we'd brought into the relationship from past relationships, childhood shit. And it really just came to a head. He and I were at the brink of divorce. I had a literally mental breakdown, broke out in this head to toe rash, my anxiety that I had had and the depression that I had growing up due to my abusive, childhood got really bad. And I didn't know what to do. I had always been a party girl. I had always dealt with addiction problems, drugs, alcohol, you name it. But it got even worse because I just wanted to numb myself out. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle it. So I went day in, day out. And my motto for living was always just get by, just get through the day, Mindy, as painless as possible. I remember back to that time of who I was. I'm like, oh my God, I am so horrible. Like, I don't like the words that are coming out of my mouth. I don't like the person that I see in the mirror. But I didn't have anybody there to lift me up, to encourage me, to set the bar higher. I was the sum of the 5 people I was hanging around, and they were all negative, bitter, heavy drinkers. And so that's what I became. And I just kind of went through life, and looking back, I'm like, I wasted so much time as a mother just trying to get through the day that in an instant, I have a child who's 19 and in college and a kid that's 15 and an almost 10-year-old. And it's just crazy. And I see so many parents just going in and out of life, and they're missing so much because they don't know what to do. And I see so many people who turn down this opportunity that we are inviting so many people, anybody and everybody we talk to join, because they're too busy slaving away for somebody else's dream. They're too busy just trying to make ends meet to give their kids what they didn't have. And they don't realize the opportunity that is here for them. The financial aspect of it, the feeling good because you're helping other people, feeling good because you're surrounded by people with goals, with dreams, with aspirations that are positive, and they're gonna empower you, from doing things that you need to, the self-care aspect of eating healthy, treating your body like a temple by eating well, working out. All these things exponentially will change your life. And one thing I've realized over the years is that the way you treat your body, your health, is a direct reflection of your health and your finances. All those things are related. How you do anything is how you do everything. And people are struggling with their health. They're struggling with their finances. They're struggling with self-worth, and they're all related. When I got started, I didn't understand the power of what I was saying yes to. Even when I started my fitness journey, as soon as I started my fitness journey, I had such positivity running through my veins because of the people I was surrounded with, my coach, the people in my challenge group, and then just the fact that once I started to see results, I started inspiring other people, which led me to becoming a coach. I didn't even know that the coaching opportunity was a thing or available to me when my coach offered up to me. And I gave every excuse why I couldn't do it. I wasn't finished with my program. I hadn't reached my goal weight. I didn't have a lot of time. I didn't know a lot of people, all these different things. And she just told me that I couldn't do it, and that all the reasons I was saying no were really virtually invalid. They were based on fears. And what's so ironic to me, and I always tell people this, is like, at 1 minute, I knew nothing about the coach opportunity. I knew nothing about what was involved. I knew nothing about what was required. I knew nothing about the compensation plan. 2 seconds later, was invited to become a coach. And 3 seconds later, I'm saying no, because all of these things. I was saying no out of fear, not based on educated facts or an educated decision. And so these are the things that have heavily impacted my life. And I'm sure you've heard stories from people, you've seen how it's done it, how it's completely, they've done a 180. And I know it's easy to look at yourself and compare them to this, to where you are now. But what you don't realize is many of us started where you were, or maybe even worse, when we started this journey. But because of this journey, we have now become these confident people, these people who are believing in themselves, helping other people believe in themselves, and doing great things. It's this ripple effect that you help one person, that person helps one person, this person helps one person, and I can't even wrap my head around how many people have benefited because my coach said yes, and then I said yes, and then my coaches said yes. And this is the thing, is like so many people want to do good things and they don't know how. Start with the problem we see today: obesity, depression, lack of purpose. I know that I just was like, this can't be all there is to life. Just wake up, go to work, rush home, put the kids to bed, drink a 12-pack, pass out, wake up, tired as hell, do it all over again. I just thought there's nothing, this can't be life. And I truly believe that is one of the reasons I felt depressed. I was suicidal. I had always had those tendencies, even as a child, and I do suffer and struggle with a lot of mental illnesses, anxiety, PTSD, depression, I have bipolar symptoms. It's not been actually diagnosed. Borderline personality disorder. I am introverted as hell. I realize now that I've quit drinking over 3 years ago, but I still make this work. I still help people. I still connect with people like myself. And I just want to tell everyone that, in closing, that saying yes to this, it may be scary, but change is always scary, but nothing will change if you don't change. And what I have done in this business and the impact I've had on other people's life and how it's impacted my family's life and my future, the freedom that I have, has been priceless. I've been able to spend more time with my family. I have been able to spend more time on myself, and it's been hard working on myself. Trust me, it is hard, and you have to be patient with yourself. But I wasn't doing that alone. I wasn't doing that with my old group of friends. But this group of people have helped me through some of the best and the darkest times. And I've never really focused on the financial part because I've had such a switch in mindset and attitude, I feel so laser focused on where I want to go and what's possible that I forget to talk about the income opportunity. And I've said before that this is my issue. I was raised in a very poor household, and my parents were, I think it was their defense against, financial freedom was that, money isn't everything. I hate materialistic things. You don't talk about money. It's private. I mean, I can understand. They were like super broke. So of course they didn't want to tell people that. They were so afraid of being judged. They were so afraid of letting people know who they were. And I have broken past that. But the money thing I've stuck with. But the other day, one of my best friends, business partners, who has been on this journey with me almost 5 years, we were talking about it because my 7-year anniversary is coming up in February, and her 5-year anniversary is coming up in February as well. Melissa was like, have you ever calculated your cumulative earnings? And I'm like, no. Again, this is my issue with money. I have just been, I just, those things make me uncomfortable, and I'm happy to get uncomfortable with this. But she was like, well, you really need to do that. So while we were talking back and forth, I was like, I'll do it. And literally in less than 5 minutes, I was able to calculate it. And the number that I shared with her was really shocking to me. There are people who've made more money, and there are people who've made less money, and there's no guarantee of the money you're going to make. It all depends on your, how much you're willing to lean in, how much change you're willing to go through, and growth, and how many people you're willing to share this message with. But in less than 7 years, I've made $600,000 in this business, helping people, enjoying it, traveling, doing good things for myself. That, I didn't buy an expensive kit that had to stay in pristine quality. I didn't have to do home parties. I spent $210 or $205 in the end of January of 2012. Once those things were in my hands, I was able to use them. And then I was able to see results, and I was able to share my story, my journey. And I was able to, 13 days later, sign up as a coach because people were like, whoa, I want those results. And I'll tell you, don't wait till you've reached the goal, because people will be your story's more relatable in the first 7 to 14 days, because that's where they are. Right there. They want to see those changes in the beginning. They don't want to see your chiseled body, your weight loss of 60 pounds, although that's impressive and it can still inspire people, but people want to see how you've done it. They want to see how you've stuck with it. Because if you say, ta-da, I've lost 50 pounds, they're going to be like, well, that's easy for her because this and this and this and this. Oh, she must have done this and this and this. They need to see you doing it while you're doing it. They need to see the struggles. They need to see the setbacks. They need to see how you get to where you are. I've shared income progressions on my Instagram recently, and one of our friends and fellow coaches, Emily, who was in the 80-day obsession test group with me, I remember when it started, she was talking about how depressed she was, how she was just disengaged, disconnected. She had suffered a lot of miscarriages, and it was very devastating for her. But 80-day obsession gave her something to focus on. It got her in crazy great shape, and then it got her out of her funk. Of course, the sadness of losing children, it never goes away, but it gave her something to focus on. So she got great results. She even went to Disney World while we were doing our 80-day obsession, while it was being filmed, and she did her workouts there, which inspired the shit out of people, because despite the fog of depression that she was living in, despite traveling, she still showed up and did the thing. And what happened was, she accelerated her business. She started thriving. And guess what, guys? She's expecting her first child. She's made it so far in this pregnancy. She is super adorable, and she's done amazing things because she showed up, because she shared her journey, the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups and the downs, the sad things. And so this is real life. And you have to get comfortable with sharing these things, because it's a gift to other people. So anyways, I have made a lot of money. And Melissa said, well, how much would you have made if you would have stayed at your job that you left? And I retired from the insurance industry after 21 months of being a coach. I should have done it sooner. I was scared to death. I was waiting for my coach to quit. And as soon as she quit and walked away from her job in August of 2012, September 6th, I turned in my 8-week notice, just as she did. And I was scared. I was so scared. I did set an 8-week, resignation, or notice for my resignation, because I was kind of afraid, like, what if I want to back out of this? This would give me time to be like, sorry, I made a mistake. But because I was scared. But doing scary things turn out to be amazing things. I was earning quite a bit of money at that point. I'd far surpassed my income there. And so I calculated, I'm like, if I had have stayed at that job, which actually I made $5,000 less in the second year I worked there than the first year. But because it was based on commissions, I was making like $1,400 salary, which my checks were like $738 every 2 weeks. And then I was commission. I had to rely on commission, but I would have only made about $200,000 if I had have stayed in that very exact position, making no more than $36,000 a year as I was. And so that's so crazy that I can say, like, wow, other coaches who started around the same time made more money than me. But then looking at it, where would I have been if I had stayed there? I would have made $400,000 less. I would have had less time with my husband, less time with my family. I'd probably be divorced. I'd probably be even more of a raging alcoholic. And I would have been unhappy and just going through the motions of life. And so that is part of my story, not all of it, but the really relevant parts of what coaching has done to help me in life, and that I am so proud to say that I am a Beachbody coach. I am so happy to be here, and I want nothing more than to inspire others into action and make them realize that they can do this just like I can, that I didn't have any superpowers. I didn't have anything special. I wasn't set up for success, but I did the things that helped me become successful. And the people who've done the same things that they've seen me do and my coach do are successful as well. So in closing, I hope to welcome you to our team, and I hope that my story has been relatable to you, and maybe this thing is not for you at this time, but circumstances change, and you might even know somebody who could benefit greatly from this opportunity. And I hope you don't hesitate to share it with them.